Hello everyone, my name is Pragati and I'm from the Robotics Club of VIT. Today we'll be diving into frontend and we'll be looking into the three basic pillars of frontend, that is HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Along the way, we'll also code an application which is called as a color guessing game. The prerequisites for watching this video is going to be a basic understanding of any programming language, like understanding consts, vars, that is variables, and loops. So before we actually start coding, I would like to show you a preview of the application. As you can see over here, we have this RGB values which are going to be appearing again and again whenever we click on new colors. You would also notice that as soon as we click on new colors, we have these boxes changing their colors. What you actually have to do is, based on this, you have to guess which color would it be. Now RGB stands for red, green and blue, and the values for red is a lot more than green and blue. So I would want to choose a color which is towards red. So this is the color that I choose. If I do, the color actually turns into black if it's the wrong color. But say for example I do click on the right color, every single box turns into that color and the background of this block also turns to that color. You could also switch the easiness of the game can be determined by clicking on easy or hard. If you click on easy, you get 3 boxes, and if you click on hard, you get 6 boxes. If you click on the right color, it shows correct. If you click on the wrong color by mistake, it shows try again. And if you click on new colors, it shows let's play. So to get all of this functionality, we use JavaScript. For actually putting in content and placing stuff, we use HTML, and to stylize our page, we are going to use CSS. So let's get started. So for coding, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, and I have already opened up my folder color guessing game inside it. I would be starting off by creating a new file, index.html. You could name it anything, but just make sure you have the .html extension. I will be starting off with a basic boilerplate code for which I have these HTML tags. So what exactly are HTML tags? They contain 2 parts. First is your start tag and next is your end tag. Your start tag usually has, say for example in this case, if I give you h1, and your end tag has a / and the same start tag's content inside it. So what exactly are these tags? These tags basically have a set properties that it applies to the content present inside the start and the end tag. So say for example I write hello world here. What it does, it basically renders the text inside of it as hello world. Now why exactly have I put it inside the body of this HTML tag that we have over here is because the body is the place that gets rendered inside your web browser. So putting it here would make sense because we want hello world to be rendered on our screen. I would also put in another hello world right on top to just show you the difference between the hello world present without the tags and the hello world present with the tags. So let's quickly spin up our live server and it opens up. Now you can see that the top hello world without the tags has exactly no properties to it, while the one with the h1 tags has a property which is basically making it as a heading, so bolding and increasing its size. So there are predefined tags that HTML provides us, and we use it so that we can structure our data on our web page. Now HTML tags, you might be wondering what exactly is this head tag for, and what is this HTML tag, and what's this body tag. So let's come to that now. The HTML tag is something that would hold every single thing in your document. Your head tags are going to contain stuff like the title, which is going to be rendered over here. So say for example I change this to color guessing game and save it. What's going to happen? It's going to change the document's name or our web browser's title to color guessing game. Now if I change anything in the body, it's going to get rendered in this part of the browser. So now that you have understood the basics, let's get started with coding the actual stuff. Now, you have already seen the h1 tags, so you might guess what exactly are the tags that we're using here as well. You can increase or decrease the font size even of the tags, but for now let's just keep all these three as h1 tags. So let's write that down over here. Let's have three h1 tags. The first one is going to be for the color guessing game heading, so I'm calling it h1. Okay, and slash h1. Over here I'm going to write color guessing game. Then in my next h1 I'm going to write down RGB so and so, though this is going to be changed later because we want it to vary every time we click on new colors, so this varies, right? So we want that to change, but for now let's just hard code it inside our HTML document. And the third and final one, that's going to be guess the color above, that's going to go in our third HTML tag. Now that we have done these three, let's go and see how it looks. Okay, it's pretty fine. We have somehow got stuff on our browser. Let's just continue doing this until we have reached these boxes that we have made. So the next thing that you can see are these buttons. So there's this new color button, there is this let's play some kind of text that's come in here. This is not a button. And finally we have these two buttons over here, that is easy and hard. So let's make them now. Let's have a button. A button tag can be represented using button, and inside the button tag we can give new colors. Then we can have our second part of the text. Okay, so here I'm going to use something different. I'm going to use something called as a span. A span basically helps you keep stuff in a line. So notice that without even giving a line break, these have come to the next line and not stayed in the current line itself. So to prevent that from happening, what we are going to do is we are going to use span instead. So span is going to keep it in the same line. So say for example here I'm giving in let's play with two exclamation marks. So this is how it shows. It doesn't go to the new line, and that's why we are using span. So there's something called as a display property, and by default the display property for span is inline, which basically means that we do not allow it to take the entire row for itself. In case of h1 tags, it has a display property of block, which lets it take the entire line and forces the next HTML element to go on the next line. So our last and final button, last two in fact, we have easy and hard, comes right after this. So let's add those as well. So two buttons, and I'm going to call it easy and hard. Finally, after this we have these boxes that we have to make. But if you notice, stuff is getting a little weird, right? There is this part, there's this part, but I'm just separating them by spaces. How does the document know that this is a different part, this is a different section, and this is a different section? So for that, we're going to use something called as a div tag. It basically helps us containerize stuff. So I'm going to write div, and inside that I'm going to put this part of my code. Now you'll see what change happens. Refresh, absolutely nothing. So a div is just going to collect all of this together and place it together, so that if I want to apply some kind of style on it, I can do it directly on the div tag, and all of these will get stylized based on that. Similarly over here as well, I could put a div tag. Instead what I choose to do is convert this entire thing into one HTML tag. So trying that out, having just one HTML h1 tag, and between that I have these three text inside it. For that, what I'm going to do is just do it that way first. So like I have color guessing game, RGB, and guess the above color in one line, and that enclosed in h1 tag. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so it does look similar to that in terms of font weight, but the only thing is that I need BRs over here, that is line breaks, which would shift the part after it to the next line. So if I add a BR over here, this is going to get shifted to the next line. If I add a BR over here, this part is going to get shifted to the next line, and I want exactly that. So I'm going to do that by adding a BR tag that's going to be your line break tag. Now a BR tag is a self-closing tag, so it doesn't require an end tag to it. Similar to BR, we have another self-closing tag called as HR. There are many others. For now I've just mentioned two of them. So you can see that BR has actually shifted this part to the next line and this to the next line, and you've also seen HR over here, that is your horizontal rule or horizontal line creating tag, which is again a self-closing tag. Now this is actually a good time to start with CSS, because we want to target this particular piece of information, that is RGB, the values, these values that are there in RGB that keeps changing each time we set a new different color. So you can see this changes. Now for that to happen, I need to target the specific line, and for doing that I would need some kind of selector. So before I come to that, let's just understand how we can add CSS to our HTML file. Now the first way you can do it is using inline CSS, which I've already shown you over here. So for doing that, we mention our style attribute for any HTML tag. We have a set of properties and values inside quotes that we given so that we can mention the style that we want. So say for example, over here I've given color as blue. This would basically render our buttons text color as blue. If I have say red over here, this is going to change it to red, and so on. So the problem with inline CSS is that once you start having a lot of different styles for just one HTML tag, it becomes too long and too huge, and your document ends up becoming big and messy. So you don't want that. For that, you can either go for internal CSS or external CSS. So let's learn about internal CSS now. Adding internally would just mean to use your style tag inside and have another closing style tag over here, so that it doesn't mess up the rendering of our file. And whatever goes inside this piece is just going to go over there. But how exactly do you know that you have to specify it for a button? For that, we mention button first, that's going to be your HTML tag that you want to target, and then put in the color red inside it. So let's just remove this and see how it looks. Well, it did work, but notice that you have also made the other parts, other buttons also red. That is, the text in the button also red. So to prevent that from happening, we use CSS selectors like classes and IDs, and to mention that or to say that we are using this specific button, we are going to add a class to this button over here. So say for example, I add a class named red button. So this red button can be targeted inside our style internal CSS, that is in the between these style tags over here, and I can just mention or target a class by using dot and then the class name and then again the parenthesis that we had used previously. Here I'm going to place the color red portion, and finally let's just get rid of the top button. So now let's see what exactly happens. Well, this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted only new colors to be in red and not easy and hard, and that's what happened. So this is how you can use a class, and let's try it out using an ID as well. So let's just try selecting this piece of code, that is your RGB and the value inside it, using an ID. To do that, I'll be enclosing it inside a span so that I can target that specific piece of code, or rather piece of HTML content. So now I have span and span, and over here I am going to add my ID as, say for example, in this case RGB color, And to target an ID inside a CSS document, you are going to use a hash and then the ID name. In this case, it's RGB color, and following that would be our parenthesis that we used previously. Say for example, I want this color to change, the text color for this to change to blue. So I'm going to mention that as COLOR, that's your property name, and blue, that's your value. Now you go there and you actually see this turn into blue. But we aren't getting close to this, right? We aren't making this part dynamically changeable each time we have new colors being clicked. For that, we're going to use JavaScript. Before we get to that, let's just head over to creating or using our last type of CSS, that is external CSS, in which we are actually going to create an external document and link that file to our HTML file. So to do that, I'm going to call it styles.css, and over here I am going to say, for example, take in this entire content and put it over here. Now the only issue is that my HTML document or my HTML file over here doesn't know that it has to see these styles from here. So right now what it's rendering is basically the regular black one that it rendered before. For it to know that it should follow the styles inside styles.css, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use link, and in href I am going to say /styles.css. So this is going to basically select the current directory, that is whichever directory index.html is in, and then it's going to say that go see my styles inside, go see the or render this file using these styles inside styles.css. So now you see that it has rendered it based on the styles that we wanted it to have. So now that we have understood external CSS, let's also try understanding how exactly are we going to include a JavaScript document or JavaScript file inside our index.html. So we included our styles.css file on the top of the HTML and not on the bottom, because let's just see it. So if I do include it in the bottom, what's going to happen is, well, it is rendering, but for very large pages, what's going to happen is it's going to first get this index.html content, that is your HTML content is going to be seen, and later on this styles is going to get rendered. So it would take time. So the first thing that you'll actually see is your HTML, but if I put it over here, I would skip that issue completely. It's the opposite in case of JavaScript. So I do not want that JS gets executed immediately when my HTML document is rendering. Otherwise JS will be executed first and then my HTML document will get rendered, which is basically making stuff difficult for the user. So for that not to happen, we include our script tag, which is basically how we link our scripts, that is our JavaScripts or script files, to our HTML files. So over here I'm going to write script and I'm going to end it with a script tag /script, and properly close it. Well, this is the autosave and autocorrect in VS Code that's making this issue, but that won't happen if you just remove autosave from here and just keep saving it each time you have completed stuff. So now what I'm going to do is, in my script tag I'm going to mention that I want to go to main.js. So let's just quickly create that file as well, main.js, and in here is going to go our JavaScript code that is going to help us with our code, that is make stuff more dynamic and user friendly. So now that we have understood how we can link our script, that is JavaScript, and our styles.css, let's complete this part of our code which has the buttons and after that the boxes. So I'll just quickly align this properly, and then we are going to have another div. I am going to call this div with some class later on so that I can target it, but this div is going to have these boxes inside it, so let's just have more divs inside. So let's have around 6 divs because our maximum is going to be 6 for hard. For easy it's going to be 3, but we'll remove that extra 3 later on for the easy part itself. So now that we have got this basic structure, let's target each and every element that you see over here. So the first thing is going to be our span, which we already got RGB color. Let's just name it RGB span so that it's much more clear. And then let's go on with mentioning this as our line, because as you can see that this is actually a line. So let's just mention it. It's not a line, but let's just name it as line for understanding. You could name it anything. The next thing that I'm going to change is going to be this. So I'm going to mention this using an ID, and I'm going to call this ID as play again. Then in my span, let's name this as status, because it's the status that changes, like correct or try again or let's play. So let's name it as a class and status. And finally the buttons, the 2 buttons, let's have one of them called easy button and the other called hard button. So our easy button is SYBTN, and our hard button has an ID of HARDBTN. Okay, so now that we have done this, I want each of these to have a class of box. So class box, and just so that I make things a little faster, I'm going to copy and paste this 6 times instead. And over here let's mention this having a class of, say, main box. Now you could have named it anything. I've just named it based on what I feel comfortable. You could name it as, well, color box or anything of your choice. So now that we are done with our main HTML page and kind of understood how exactly stuff works here, let's go on to our styles.css and stylize our entire page so that it somehow looks like this. So the first thing that we are going to do, let's go back to our color guessing game, and it still looks plain right now. So I'll just remove this from here and we can start. So in our styles.css, we would be selecting specific tags, HTML tags, and the selectors that we made a while back, and we'll be targeting them and stylizing them separately. So let's get started with that. I am going to start off with my body tag, and let's give it a margin equals 0 pixels and see how it looks. So before I do that, let's just save this and see how it looks right now. So there's some space over here and there's some space on top as well. And now if I put the body tag and save it, what exactly happens? There's no space to the left, but there is some space on top. So why is that? The h1 tag that you had over here has its own default margin and padding, which is why you have this top space. But originally the body is going to have a margin of 0. So if I somehow remove the margin for h1, I would be able to make it stick to the top. So let's do that as well. Let's give our h1 tag a margin of 0 pixels. Save it and let's see how it looks. Well, we did it. Now what I want is, I want this aquamarine color on the body, and I want every single piece of text to be white. Let's just forget this for now. So for that, I am going to target a body color property, that's background color, and I'm going to say that as aquamarine and a color as white. White can also be represented as hash followed by 6 Fs, which basically is in hexadecimal. So over here the first two is for red, next two is for green, and last two is for blue, RGB. Well, that's what we are working on as well. So this value can be represented in hexadecimal, so can this and so can this, and they would always end up to a max of 2 digits in hexadecimal. So finally we have a 6-digit value, and that's being placed over here. Hash followed by 6 Fs is white, so I've used that right here. Now I can also change the font, so let's just say font family, as I'm keeping it as monospace, so a Courier New, and let's go and see how exactly has it changed our page's look. Well, it has changed the font family, and it has changed the color and the background color. Now the next thing that we're going to do is give this a background color as well, that is this light shade of pink. And we would also want to convert all of this to uppercase, because every single thing over here is in uppercase. We would also want to give it a better font weight, more like this is normal, while over here it's still bold because of the default H1 tag. And yeah, that's about it. So let's do all of this, and then there'll be one important point that we'll be looking into, that is making H1 center aligned, making the text in H1 center aligned. For that we would be using a property called text align. So before that, let's start with our background color. Our background color, I'm using the value directly, so RGB 233,119,119, that's our pink. Then I want to set my font weight to normal, and finally I want it to be in uppercase, for which I'm using text transform uppercase. So now these three are done. Now we want to align it to the center. Before that, let's just see how it looks. Well, we have our colored box over here for H1. We have this in uppercase, and we have them normalized, that is the font weight is normal now. Now I want to center align this, for which let's give text align as center. Also I want the font size to be a little more, so let's just give it 300%. You can give it any value you want to. Let's save this, and there you go. It's right in the middle and how we wanted it to be. So you might be wondering if we can increase the size of this RGB value to this much. Well, yes you can, and to do that we'll target that specific span that we had created previously in index.html using this class RGB span. So in styles.css I go and target this RGB span. Over here I give it a font size of say 200%, and because it's already saved, I get this value as big as I wanted it to be. This might be a lot too big. You can decrease the size according to your wish. Now the next thing that I want to do is get this part set. So over here we have this line, and we have new colors, let's play, easy and hard buttons mentioned, and each of these have this border kind of thing that appears, but that comes by default, so we wouldn't have to do anything specific for it. So let's get that done now, starting off with the dot line class that we have, so that we are going to target. So we have this line class, let's target that first, dot line, and inside that let's give it a width of 100%. well, that is because it needs to cover the entire screen, and a height of say 40 pixels. This can be according to you. I'm just doing or rather giving these values based on trial and error that I had finally come up with, and you could do the same, or you could use these values as well. Now I want to align all of that in the center like I did previously, so I do text align center, And finally, let's also give it a background color, which was white in that case. So hash followed by 6 Fs. And then finally, let's give it a padding of 0 pixels. Okay, now let's go and see how it looks. So yeah, we have got stuff in the center, and we have this text over here which is camouflaging with the background. So for fixing this, let's do that by specifically calling out let's play. So let's go back to VS Code. Over here, let's play had tag of status, that's our class. So let's select status from here, status, and inside that let's give it a color of, well, let's see what color did we have over here. That was the same color as this background, so let's do that. Again, this is up to you, whichever color you want you could choose. So I'm copy pasting this color over here, and now you'll see that let's play is visible. Okay, so we need to do a few more things to the status. First, give it some space around. So let's like give it a width value of say 20%. And also we want it to be a display inline block. The reason we are doing that is because we need it to have a width specified. So right now if I move, you can notice that I haven't actually changed the width. The reason being, it's an inline element, and inline elements, that's span in this case, do not allow you to change the width. Only block elements do. So that is why we come to the conclusion of using inline block, which takes in the property of inline elements, that is keeping itself to how much ever text it has, as well as taking the quality of block elements, or block displays rather, which is basically allowing it to resize itself by providing a required width. So in this case I've given 20%. So let's just change this to inline block, and then you'll see the change. So it's a display property, and I'm going to call it inline block. So there you go. Now I can change the width. So now that we are done with this, let's also give it a bigger font weight, because as you can see over here it is a little bolded. So let's give it a font weight of say 900, and we have made it bold. Okay, so now that we are done with the status as well, let's try and fix these buttons that we have over here. So now I'm going to target these buttons and style them. So the first thing that you see over here is their color, that's the color of this. Then we also have them in uppercase. We don't have the borders, we don't have the background, we have a little more space, and we also have this having a better font weight, like say 700. So let's do all of those changes in these buttons and we'll be good to go. So starting off with our button tag directly, because I want all three buttons to inherit these styles. So let's just use border none, which will basically remove the border. Background also to be none, and I want the text transform to be uppercase. Also I want it to be in the center, for which I'm going to give the height as 100%, which would basically mean that I wanted to use the entire height of the div it's in, so 100%. And I want to give it a font weight of 700 that we talked about. Font weight of 700, and let's also give it a letter spacing of 1 pixel. And I guess, yeah, that's about it. Also the color. So for the color, let's give it the same RGB value that we had above. And yeah, Now if I go and see, I do have something that looks pretty similar to this. Now I just got it to the size of our web page, that is 100%, which was previously not 100%. Now what I want to do is get those boxes over here that we see, and I want to insert some color. That would be done using JavaScript. So for now I'm just going to give them a color of white. Say you could give it anything, that wouldn't matter right now. So let's start by targeting our boxes. Our boxes have a class of have a class of box, so I'm going to target it using dot box, and inside that notice that we have some kind of width to it, some kind of height to it, which can also be made using padding bottom, and we have made it some kind of float, so like float left or float right. So in this case it looks like float left, and we have a border radius also. So let's target all of this and quickly make our box look the way it's supposed to. So let's give it a width of say 30%, but this is going to be 30% with respect to the div it is in, which is main box, and that has a width of 100% right now because that's the default value. But I don't want that. I want to reduce the width to say this can be considered as 60%, or let's just say it's 600 pixels. So let's just have that targeted first. So dot main box, and inside that let's give a width of 600 pixels. Then following that, let's have a margin value of say 0 pixels and auto. Now what exactly does this mean? So previously when we used margin, we just had say margin 0, which by default meant 0 pixels, or any unit for the matter of fact. So we had 0 written over here, which meant that it has 0 margin in all 4 directions, that is top, left, right and bottom. Now if I want to just select top and bottom and left and right separately, like these two separately, top and bottom together and left and right together, I'm going to give another value over here with the unit. So this would mean that 0 pixels margin from top and bottom and 10 pixels margin from left and right. So over here when I give the value auto, that means that I want it to be aligned in the center, or more like that I want the spacing of left and right margins to be the same. So that way it comes in the center, and that's what we want. So now that we have given our main box a width of 600 pixels, we can define a width of 30% so that we have 3 boxes in a line, and then float left so that stuff comes the way it's supposed to look. So we have a width of 30% mentioned, then we need a background of white, that is hash followed by 6 f's, and padding bottom. This would basically make the height of the box how much ever we need. So padding hyphen bottom, let's give it a padding bottom of 30% as well. Then let's target the margin, so margin as 1.66%, and finally let's also have a border radius. Border radius of say 20 pixels. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so you notice they have come one below the other, but if I want it to actually be one beside the other, I'm going to give it float left. So now what happens is each of those that were down, this basically floats so that this thing, the previous box, comes to the left, and so on. And we want the width to be 600 pixels, which makes it so that we have this 6 by 2 3 by 2 pattern to make total 6 boxes. So with this we are kind of done with our CSS. The last few parts of CSS will be covered in our JavaScript tutorial, which would be following this. One of my colleagues from Robotics VIT is going to take on. Over to you.
Currently, your website would be looking somewhat like this. None of the buttons are working and nothing is displayed over here. So what we are going to do is we are going to implement JavaScript. which is basically the brain of the program. So JavaScript is a language which runs on the browser, and you can integrate logic onto your website using JavaScript. So now let's get started by adding the JavaScript. Currently, this is what your HTML file looks like. Create a index.js file in the same directory, and then add a script tag in the end. So what this does is it adds a script, which is the JavaScript, to the website. And usually you add this at the end right above the body so that first the website loads, then the JavaScript is implemented. Now save this and open your index.js. First, we'll add these lines. So I'll explain what it means. So var means a variable. So you're declaring a variable named boxes and giving it this value. You're doing the same for boxes and this variable s, colors and pick color. We have a variable called boxes and it has to hold some value. So we do this document.querySelectorAll of box. So what this document refers to is this document. So the HTML file, the whole body is a document, right? So it selects the document, which is this whole HTML, and gives a query selector all. So what a query selector is, it selects one of these tags, which we'll specify later on. So that's what a query selector is. Now query selector all, what it does is it returns an array of all these queries. So basically over here we have given a class box to multiple divs. So we need all of this in one variable. So we use query selector all and give the class name dot box. So in CSS you learned for the classes you give dot, and for the ID you give a hash. So you do document.querySelectorAll of dot box. So what this does is it returns an array of all the tags which has the class name dot box. So basically in this boxes all these divs would be saved and we can manipulate these divs as we want. Next we save a query selector of RGB span, and over here you can see we didn't do query selector all. What this means is it just takes the first query which has the class name RGB span. So our RGB span is right between, it's in the H1 between the color guessing game and guess the above color. So we need to give a color over here. So we are specifying that as RGB span. So we select that and save it in S. Then we do colors equal to generate random colors of 6. So we are going to define a function later on in the code. We'll see that code over there. So what a function is, it's a bit of code which runs and returns something. It need not return always, but will return in our case. So we'll pass it an argument of 6 and it returns an array of random colors and saves it in colors. So this colors would save an array of 6 different colors. So currently what we need to understand is this is a function which returns an array of n colors and n over here is 6. Next we pick a color. So I told you earlier this is an array. So we do colors of maths.floor of maths.random star 6. So what this does is we select the element in the array with the index using these square brackets. Now inside the square bracket we do math.floor of math.random. So what math.random returns is it returns a float variable between 0 and this number. So basically between 0 and 6 it returns a number, and then basically between 0 and 6 it returns a float, and then the float is converted to a number. It is rounded to the nearest whole number and we get a value. So basically over here we get one of the element from the 6 different colors which we generated. Now we'll do s.textContent equal to pick color. So as I told earlier, s holds the RGB span. It holds this tag. This span over here, it holds that in the s variable. So s, that variable has a property called text content. So the text content, as the name says, is the content which it has to have inside. So the text content would be the pick color. Now let's define variables for the buttons, these buttons and the new color and all these. So now we define a variable which holds the play button, easy button, hard button. So again over here we do query selector of hash play again. So over here you can see the play again is an ID. So we use hash as the query selector and the button is saved over here. And over here we do the easy button and here we save the hard button. So the 3 buttons have been saved. Now initially by default the mode is set to hard. So we'll give the box count as 6. So we define a variable called box count which holds the number of boxes. So in the hard difficulty we'll have 6 boxes, easy difficulty we'll just have 3 boxes. Next, we have status text. So over here, we'll have a small text which says let's play or try again or you won. So we do document.querySelector of .status. So it would basically return this span, which is in between new colors and easy. So it's between these two. So we'll be somewhere over here. So we save that tag onto status text and we do status text.text content equal to let's play. So we put this text inside the span over here as let's play. So that's basically most of the variables we'll declare. Now we need to have actions when this button is clicked, this button is clicked, this button or any of the boxes has been clicked. Let's do that. So now we take the easy button. So over here we have the easy button. We take the easy button, then dot add event list. So this would add in listener to the button. So what listener would we be adding is click. So whenever we click on the button, it has to execute something. So for that, we'll have to define a function over here. So in JavaScript, there are multiple ways to define a function. One of the ways is you write function brackets, and if there are any arguments to be taken, we mention it over here. Then we give curly braces as the body of function. Now we have added the event listener to the easy button. So whenever this click happens on this easy button, this function is executed. That's what add event listener is. Now let's add some code over here. So when the easy button has been clicked, we need to change some things. So right now the background is this color, and whenever someone wins the game, it would change to the background of the winning color. So we need to reset that. So we do document.querySelector of h1. So it takes the first h1 in the code. So this is the only h1 we have. So it takes this h1, selects it, and does style.background. So dot style would select the CSS style, and the background property of style, we can mention it as this. This is the color we've used in index.css also. So we reset the background. Then we do status text, this one, which is the status, which is the span, dot text content equal to let's play. So we reset it to let's play. Right now by default it's let's play, but in the game when you win or lose, we'll show try again or you won. So we need to reset that to let's play. Then we set the box count as 3. So easy difficulty 3 boxes. Then this add event listener, this variable in it, which is basically the easy button. So this dot style dot background, we set it as the background, as this background for the easy button, and then the color of the text as white. Then the hard button, we change it background to white and color as this. So basically when you click any one of these, what happens is when you toggle this, background would be this color and the text would be white color. And when you click this, the background would be this color and the text would be white. So that's what we've done over here. Now we'll do colors equal to generate random colors of box count. So as I said earlier, this is a function which we'll declare later on, and then give an argument of box count. So 3 boxes, it will return an array of 3 different colors. Then we do pick color equal to random color from the 3 of them. So it's basically the same code over here, but with 3 of them. Then we do s.text content equal to pick color. So the text content over here, we would have a color over here. It would be the pick color. So we'll save that. And now we have to assign random colors to these boxes. A for loop from 0 to boxes.length, and we check if there's a if colors of I. So in this we just have 3 of them, but we have 6 boxes, right? So if we check if the color exists, then we do box.style.background equal to colors of I. So background color would be set as the random color, and then otherwise we do boxes of I.style.display equal to none. So what happens over here is first 3 boxes would be assigned the respective color from the array, and the next 3 boxes would have a display of none. What this display of none means is it sets the display as none. That means it's not rendered onto the screen. So these 3 boxes would not be rendered to the screen. So now this is for the easy button. So when the easy button has been clicked, you'll reset the background, this background to this red color. Then you'll change the content to let's play. You'll change the box count to 3, and then toggle the switches colors, and it will pick a random color and set that as a background and fill these boxes with different colors. Now that was the easy button. Let's do it for the hard button. So we do hard button dot add event listener, same as above, and we give a click and we define a function. So most of the code over here would be the same. So when the hard is selected, it resets the background of the H1. Then it changes the status to let's play. Then it sets the background of the hard button as this color and the text color as white, and vice versa for the easy button. It sets the box count as 6, generates random colors. So over here 6 colors would be generated, and it picks a random color with the same logic as above. And a for loop runs from 0 to 6, and the background of the colors is set as the respective one in the array, and the display is set as block. So over here we did a display equal to none. So in that case, the box won't be rendered onto the screen. So we need to display equal to block so that it gets rendered onto the screen. So that was it for the hard button. Now we have a play button or the new colors button. So this is the play button, and we need to change the property of this, and we need to change what happens when we click this button. So we do play button.add event listener. We listen for a click, and we execute this function whenever click is called. So again, it does the same thing. It resets the background and changes the status to let's play, and generates random colors, picks a random color, and sets this a span over here as the random color, and fills the boxes with the random color again with the same logic. The best part about this add event listener is need not be a button. We can add it to any element. Like we can add it to a div or a h1 tag. So you can add it anywhere. So all these boxes are divs, right? So we need to add an event listener to each one of these boxes. Instead of typing it manually, we'll use a for loop. So we have a for loop from 0 to colors.length. So the current colors, that array, we take the length. So 0 to that length, we would have a for loop, and boxes of I. So boxes of I dot style dot background would be colors of I. So the box gets the respective color as its background. And then we do a add event listener for the box. So we do a click. When a click happens, this function is executed. So the selected color, we take it from this dot style dot background. So this correspond to the respective boxes of I, and we check if the selected color equals to the pick color, a function called win would be executed. Otherwise, a function called lose would be executed. So these two functions we'll define later. So this means the current boxes of I. So this boxes of I would be passed on to lose. And now over here you see this triple equals. What this means is it checks whether these two values are same, also the data type. It checks whether it's in the same color, and it also checks if both are strings. And then it'll go to win. Now let's declare the function win. So the function win, what we do is first, when we win, all the box background color would be set to the winning color. And then we do document.query selector of h1 style.background equal to pick color. So as I said earlier, this background would be changed to the winning color. So this background would be changed to the winning color. Then we do status text content equal to correct. So when the correct color is selected, the content over here would be correct. That's all happens when we win. So now when we lose, what happens is the box would disappear, and the person can again select a box. So when it loses, it takes a variable a. So that current box is passed down to this, and a.style.background. So the background is set as aquamarine. So this color would be set as background, so it appears transparent. Then status text.text content would be equal to try again. So over here, try again would be mentioned. Now earlier I had told something about this generate random color, right? So let's define that function. So we define a function called generate random color of now, and it takes a number and generates an array of that many colors. So we define an array as an empty array. Then we have a for loop from 0 to now. So 0 to 3 or 0 to 6. Then we do array.push of random color. So this random color is another function which we'll declare down here. So random color would be called, which returns a string in random color. So a RGB value would be returned, and that would be added to the array. So will be added one after the other, and that array is returned and saved in colors over here. Now let's declare this random colors. So it should return an RGB color as a string. So what we need to keep in mind is, so we need to return a string with this format. So after each comma there should be a space, and these will be numbers, not RGB, but numbers, which corresponds to the red, green, blue value. So it returns this function. Now we can save this file, save the HTML. Make sure you add the script as index.js. You can go to the website, reload the website. You can see a random color has been printed over here. and then you can start selecting. So when a wrong color has been selected, it shows try again and this disappears. Then we can again click new colors, which resets the game, and select. So when we win, all the colors are set to the winning color and this background is set to that. We can again click play again, it changes. We can change the difficulty to get these 3 boxes. Hopefully this would give you a small idea on how to build websites, or better, interactive websites, so the user can interact with your website. Now, if you would like to see more content like this, please make sure you like, share and subscribe this video, and keep an eye out for How to Robotics playlists. If you would like a specific tutorial on this playlist, you can fill the form given below and a tutorial would be uploaded to our playlist How to by Robotics. Thank you.